So this video has been a very long time coming. Basically, since Infinity War was first released, I knew I wanted to do this video, but I wanted to do it right. So I've been spending a ridiculous amount of time power scaling the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I plan to make videos for pretty much every major hero and villain in the verse, but Thanos is by far the most interesting. Of course, that comes with the territory of being considered the most powerful being in the universe. The idea with this video is to be as comprehensive as I can be, so this is going to be a very long video, but I'm not going to just be listing off every feat that Thanos has because we'd be here forever. This video is meant to explain in detail how powerful Thanos is, not recount each and every feat the character has. So with that being said, let's get into the incredible power of Marvel's Cinematic Universe, Thanos. Of course, in his base form, meaning not amplified by the Infinity Stones, he embarrasses the Hulk with his high-caliber hand-to-hand skill, which far exceeds that of someone like Thor, who has been training as a warrior for thousands of years and who always struggled with the Hulk, despite having a significant advantage in terms of battle experience. Thanos would go on to take on Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America at the same time, destroying all of them with his skill and outright strength advantage, but he was somewhat outclassed by one of the most skilled fighters in the MCU, Captain America. It wasn't until Thanos started flexing his crazy strength advantage that he was finally able to put Cap down temporarily. And while Thanos' ability to dismantle his opponents so effectively with his combat skill is very impressive, his physical strength far outclasses even the strongest Avenger, Hulk. During his first fight with the Hulk, we do of course see his skill advantage, but it's clear that Thanos has a strength advantage despite what the Russos may have claimed. During their fight, Hulk got Thanos in a chokehold, leaning his entire body weight into the Mad Titan, using his legs and upper body to put continuous pressure on Thanos. And after realizing this was a poor situation for Thanos, Cull Obsidian attempts to interfere before being stopped by Ebony Maw, who tells Cull to let Thanos have his fun. This is when Thanos begins fighting a bit more seriously, casually overpowering the physical strength of the Hulk despite being in a disadvantageous position. To support the claim that Thanos is indeed stronger than the Hulk, we can compare this Hulk's feats against Thor, who he fights just days earlier in the Gladiator arena. In that fight, the Hulk is smashing Thor's face with overhead strikes and punches, and despite repeatedly striking him 14 to 15 times in the face, not once did any of these strikes cause Thor to bleed. Meanwhile, the strongest version of Thor, at least according to the Russos, whose statements, again, can be suspect on occasion, was hit 4 times by base form Thanos and was left bloody and noticeably fatigued. And for even more evidence for Thanos being stronger than Hulk, let's take a look at Thor's best durability feat, tanking the force of a neutron star, which many people who like to discuss the power of this verse consistently misconstrue. The act of creating or destroying a star is not the same as the amount of energy that a star can output. In fact, the amount of energy isn't anywhere close to quote-unquote star level. The total amount of energy that Thor was enduring per second is roughly 855 gigatons of force, or roughly, in terms of power scaling, large island level. Because Thor was tanking this amount of energy for so long, it's not really a stretch to upgrade his durability slightly to at least small country level, which is in line with one of Thanos' best calculable strength feats, which is casually crushing the Tesseract. So, in the Avengers, Bruce Banner states that Loki has got to heat up the cosmic cube to 120 million Kelvin just to break through the Coulomb barrier. The Coulomb barrier is the energy barrier that 2 nuclei need to overcome so they can get close enough to undergo a nuclear reaction. So with that in mind, we can insert that into our calculation, and we come up with a low ball of 52.6 Teratons for Thanos to crush the Tesseract, which in terms of power scaling is country level, keeping his strength consistent in comparison to Thor's durability and how easily he's able to defeat Thor while the Hulk is not. If you're still not convinced that Thanos is at this level with just his physical attacks, we see him battling it out on Titan, and during this fight he crushes one of Titan's moons with the Power Stone, which we'll get to later, and throws it at Iron Man, who is hit by a chunk of the broken celestial body. Iron Man survives this attack with no damage to his suit, but later we see Thanos ripping apart Iron Man's armor and even striking it so hard that pieces fly off. Using another calculation, we know that the force of the meteor that Iron Man was hit by was 45.89 gigatons, or island level, meaning again, since Thanos was able to shatter this armor with his physical attacks, he would scale above this level and into country level, which is above the calculable durability of both Thor and Iron Man, which are in turn above the likes of vibranium users such as Vision, Black Panther, and Captain America. While suppressed by Mantis's empathic manipulation, it took the combined strength of Doctor Strange, Drax, Iron Man, and Spider-Man just to keep Thanos still, and even in a severely weakened state, having snapped the gauntlet twice, reducing his left arm to a shriveled shell of itself, he was able to overpower Captain Marvel with his arm until he was jumped by War Machine and Hulkbuster. So as you can see, Thanos is clearly above the other members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in terms of strength, and as for durability, we could take the easy way out and just apply Newton's third law. As every action has an equal and opposite reaction, Thanos needs to be able to endure the amount of force that his strikes can output. However, I'd like to take a closer look at his durability. Of course, we see him casually shrugging off multiple attacks from an enraged Hulk, who we spoke about earlier. Also, Iron Man exhausted the entire arsenal he had at his disposal against Thanos and was only able to put a scratch on his face. He was dropped but ultimately unaffected by Thor's lightning, which in the first Avengers film could easily obliterate Leviathans, and for comparison, Iron Man attempted to pierce the hull of a Leviathan in this same film, but Jarvis stated that he would run out of power before they could even penetrate the shell. After recovering from this lightning blast, he is pierced in the chest by Stormbreaker, which could destroy the hulls of Outrider drop pods, and despite being pierced in the chest, Thanos was able to still snap and then recover from this attack before snapping again, which he survived less than a month later. And in Endgame, we get even more insane durability feats for Thanos. We see him equip the Infinity Gauntlet twice, and while he was clearly taking a significant amount of damage from it, he pushed through the pain with no lasting effects. For context, Iron Man states that the energy contained within the Infinity Gauntlet could, quote, light up a continent. And for those of you not familiar with this common turn of phrase, to light something up means blow it up, destroy it, eliminate it, etc. So, assuming this statement is accurate, and that equipping the fully decked out gauntlet does do enough damage to destroy a continent, Thanos was tanking 760 Teratons to 4.35 Petatons of energy. So, I know those numbers are insanely huge and they don't really make a lot of sense, so to try and put this in terms that are more easy to understand, the most powerful nuclear weapon on record is the Tsar bomb, which yielded roughly 50 megatons of TNT. At minimum, Thanos would be hit with 760 million times more force than this same nuclear bomb. I know a lot of people would like to give the Hulk this durability feat as well, but in my opinion, it just doesn't really work. Bruce Banner himself states that the majority of the radiation is mostly gamma, meaning his body can absorb most of that energy, so the remaining energy would be what was harming him. Even if you want to discount this statement, simply putting on the gauntlet brought Hulk to his knees in pain and was completely frying his arm. And after snapping, Hulk passed out and Iron Man had to cool his arm down to prevent further harm. Even with his incredible regenerative abilities, the damage that Hulk took looks like it's going to be permanent. Now, compare this to Thanos, who was unfazed by the gauntlet in comparison to the Hulk in Endgame, and in Infinity War, Thanos was pierced through the chest by Stormbreaker and was able to snap twice, survived it, and took far less visible damage than the Hulk did. There are arguments that the gauntlet made by the dwarves was able to contain the energy better than Iron Man's gauntlet. However, Thanos put on a gauntlet that was already damaged by the snap that Hulk did earlier in the film, so we have a 1-to-1 comparison in the favor of Thanos. During the final climax of Endgame, Thanos is seen taking a beating from nearly every Avenger. Thor, Enhanced Captain America, Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel, just to name a few, and while battling it out against Carol, he pulls out the Power Stone to strike her with an enhanced punch, but keep in mind that just touching the Power Stone is incredibly harmful. We've seen its power obliterate an entire group who built a machine to try and harness its power, and it even nearly killed Star-Lord, who is a half-Celestial. So it's clear that Thanos is a massive step above the Avengers in terms of durability as well as strength. But what about his speed? Well, this is a little bit harder to pin down. Ever since the release of Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame, many people I've spoken to have upgraded almost every major character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to faster than light speed because of Carol Danvers. However, I don't believe that there is enough evidence to make the claim that the characters have consistently massively faster than light combat, and reaction, and travel speeds, at least on Earth. We do see Carol travel throughout the galaxy multiple times at these speeds, and of course to travel these distances in such short time frames, she has to be moving much faster than the speed of light, which is roughly 670 million miles per hour. So the first bit of evidence that makes this speed scale a little bit questionable is how Captain Marvel obtained her powers. Carol's power came indirectly from the Tesseract in the form of the Lightspeed engine, which was designed to allow the Skrull race to get as far away from the Kree as possible. This was achieved by wielding the space manipulation of the Space Stone and using that to harness photons. So a photon is a type of elementary particle which has zero rest mass and always moves at the speed of light within a vacuum. And to elaborate on this, light that travels through transparent matter does so at a lower speed than speed of light in a vacuum. For example, photons engage in so many collisions on the way from the core of the sun that the radiant energy can take about 1 million years to reach the surface. However, once in open space, a photon takes only 8.3 minutes to reach Earth. So you can easily argue that Captain Marvel cannot move at these incredible faster than light speeds while on Earth or other planets with an atmosphere, because she would be removing herself from the vacuum of space by entering said atmosphere, lowering her speeds by millions and millions of times over. The second issue is the consistency of massively faster than light Marvel Cinematic Universe. And spoiler alert, it's not consistent at all. Characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe have been unable to dodge lightning since the first Thor film, and this trend continues on through Ragnarok and even Endgame. The return stroke of lightning reaches speeds between 70 million to 140 million miles per hour, with some calculations putting it at roughly 1/3 the speed of light. And in Ragnarok, Hela was unable to dodge Thor's lightning blasts, despite being able to keep up with him in hand-to-hand combat, and in Endgame, Thanos was unable to dodge Captain America's lightning strikes, but could dodge his physical attacks. This points to the verse being slower than lightning, which is supported by these characters being much slower than the massively hypersonic Quicksilver during Age of Ultron. However, all of this can kind of be dismissed by making the claim that Thor's lightning is magical in nature, so it should be faster than normal lightning, even though the evidence for his lightning actually being faster than typical lightning is shaky at best. But what other inconsistencies are there? Well, here's the biggest issue, gunfire, and this is even an issue with the current speed scaling that I think is more consistent. And before we dig into this portion of the video, I'd like to make it clear that I'm not trying to downplay the Marvel Cinematic Universe speed to subsonic. I am merely pointing out the inconsistencies with the massively faster than light speed scaling. So, a large number of the Avengers use guns, and each one of these gun wielders would scale to Captain Marvel, and almost every single one of the Avengers has been tagged by bullets. Spider-Man in Far From Home gets hit by bullets when just one movie beforehand he was supposedly faster than light. Black Widow has been tagged in Winter Soldier, Black Panther couldn't even avoid a grenade launcher, Groot has been peppered with bullets before, Captain America has been hit by bullets on multiple occasions, Ant-Man couldn't swing his jet bridge fast enough to avoid it being destroyed by War Machine's gunfire, and Thanos' foot soldiers, which can consistently keep up with and overwhelm multiple Avengers, get tagged by Winter Soldier's gun as well as War Machine's missiles and gunfire. I could go on forever on this topic, but for the sake of brevity, let's move on. What I'm trying to say here is that characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe who scale to Thanos and Captain Marvel get tagged by bullets, and bullets move 394,000 times slower than the speed of light. And let's remember that the popular speed scaling is millions or even billions of times the speed of light for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which makes the scaling even more inconsistent. Again, I am not trying to make the argument that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is subsonic and that most of the characters struggle to dodge bullets. In fact, they dodge bullets more often than not, but to argue MFTL is inconsistent to the point of breaking the scaling of the universe entirely. So I say all of that to say this. In my opinion, a more consistent combat speed for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is roughly high hypersonic, which is about Mach 25 to Mach 50. The calculation for this goes all the way back to Iron Man 3 and is supported by feats in Age of Ultron, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Ragnarok, Endgame, and even Far From Home. So there's your answer, kind of. Thanos' combat and reaction speed is in the high hypersonic range with the possibility of being higher. This better explains why the Avengers still use guns and why they can occasionally be tagged by them, mostly while in a fatigued state. If they were millions or billions of times faster than light, then no bullet or lightning strike could hope to hit them. The scaling and the meta for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is always changing in the power scaling community, and as more films are released and supplementary material is found, the power and speed of the universe will change as well. As for speed feats that Thanos actually has, he really doesn't have anything crazy. It's all mostly just combat speed feats that we scale off of other characters who actually have concrete speed feats. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the Infinity Gauntlet, which is by far the most interesting part of Thanos' power set. The best way to do this is to probably just go over each stone and how Thanos has been effectively able to use them, starting with the Space Stone. Thanos primarily uses this stone for travel, opening portals to teleport throughout the galaxy, but he uses it very effectively in combat as well, as he was seen using the Space Stone to teleport chunks of Titan's moon to surprise the Avengers with a devastating attack, and in conjunction with the Reality Stone, he pulled Doctor Strange to him, ending their fight. He can use it to create shields that stonewall blasts from Scarlet Witch and gunfire from War Machine. He has used the energy contained within the stone to stop Loki in his tracks, send Falcon plummeting to the ground, torture Nebula while using the Power Stone as well, and even crush Rhodey's War Machine armor. But one of the coolest abilities of the stone that he only uses once is intangibility. He used the Space Stone to turn the Hulkbuster armor and Bruce Banner entirely intangible, allowing Bruce to move right through Thanos and into a rock wall where Thanos turns him tangible once again, embedding him into the stone. And it seems that he can also either absorb energy into the stone or at least draw energy into a compact space and then redirect it, as he does with these large explosions caused by Iron Man. However, my favorite use of the Space Stone was during the battle on Titan, when he used the stone to create a mini black hole, sucking in the remnants of the mirror dimension and firing that black hole toward Doctor Strange. And since we've mentioned it a couple times already, let's discuss the Power Stone. This one isn't as nuanced as the Space Stone, but what it lacks in versatility, it makes up for in raw power, hence the name. As I mentioned earlier, simply holding the stone can turn you to ash, and it even strained a half Celestial. But when using the stone to its fullest capabilities, the user becomes insanely more powerful. During the Guardians of the Galaxy, we saw Eson the Searcher wipe out the surface of a planet, which is calculated at over 5 ninotons, which is just shy of the destructive power of the Death Star. And the way that Thanos was able to completely obliterate Titan's moon is another planetary feat for the stone. But one thing that's pretty important to keep in mind here is that not every blast from Thanos is planetary. It's clearly shown to us that Thanos can control the output of the stone, and he does so deliberately throughout Infinity War. Keep in mind that he wasn't intending to kill his enemies on Titan when he began to fight them. We know this because A, he doesn't typically kill unnecessarily, we saw this at the end of Infinity War as well, and B, the majority of the combatants on Titan were Gamora's close friends, so the blasts he was firing were just enough to incapacitate, not kill. We saw that earlier Thanos had every opportunity to kill the Guardians of the Galaxy, but he outright states that he likes Peter Quill, and then he undoes the damage that the Reality Stone did to Mantis and Drax. This is also consistent throughout his time on Earth. As I said, during the final scenes of Infinity War, he is casually dispatching the Avengers, making a point not to kill them with the various stones. But back to the capabilities of the Power Stone. While he is typically seen firing energy projectiles with the stone, he can also create large AoE blasts, seen on the Asgardian ship and during the battle on Titan. Thanos has also used it to enhance his own punches against Iron Man, famously against Captain Marvel, and he was even able to break the mirror dimension with a Power Stone enhanced strike. And much like the Space Stone, Thanos can use the Power Stone to create shields, although I'd assume the Space Stone shield is stronger since he opted for that shield when attempting to bully his way through Scarlet Witch's powerful blast. As for the Time Stone, we know the vast capabilities of this stone. We saw it used plenty of times by Doctor Strange. It can apply time where time is stated not to even exist. It can look into possible futures, it can rewind time, and it can even shield others from time-altering effects. But we'll dig into the Time Stone more during our Doctor Strange video, so be on the lookout for that. As for Thanos, he uses it to rewind time once, undoing the destruction of the Mind Stone, and it's implied that he used it to reverse time again to reverse the damage that Thor had done to him with Stormbreaker. So now let's discuss the Reality Stone, which in my opinion is the most powerful of the Infinity Stones, and I think that the writers decided for Thanos to use it very sparingly as the capabilities of the stone are limitless. He uses it to create an illusion that tricks Gamora and the other Guardians into thinking Thanos was interrogating the Collector. Thanos takes this illusion even further by allowing Gamora to believe that she killed him. He does a similar feat once again on Titan when he reveals what Titan was before it wasted away, and in terms of combat, the Mad Titan uses it to transmute the bodies of Mantis and Drax. He turns Gamora's knife and Peter Quill's gunfire to harmless bubbles, and transforms the remains of a building into bats that chase down Iron Man. Finally, he uses it along with the Space Stone to alter the space and the terrain between he and Doctor Strange to pull the Sorcerer toward himself. The final two stones Thanos uses the least, and how capable he is with each is unknown for the most part. While the Mind Stone grants Thanos a variety of mental and physical abilities such as mind control, telepathy, energy projectiles, amongst others, he doesn't use it on its own, not once, which makes sense since it was the final stone he obtained before snapping half of all sentient life out of existence. As for the Soul Stone, he does use this stone twice. Once to determine which of Strange's doppelgangers was the real one, and the second time he used it to speak with Gamora after she had been sacrificed to that same stone. But when all 6 stones are used in harmony, Thanos' power skyrockets. With every single stone active, he fires a blast at Thor that is undoubtedly above planetary. We already know that the Power Stone can destroy heavenly bodies, but the other stones have massive amounts of raw power as well. In the Avengers, Black Widow states that the Space Stone has the potential energy to wipe out the planet, and there are guidebook statements saying that the stone has limitless energy. But take that one with a grain of salt. By no means does this mean Thanos has limitless power with just one stone. During Age of Ultron, Thor implies that the Mind Stone could destroy the planet as well. He claims that the visions Wanda had of Ultron destroying all life on Earth was nothing compared to what the Mind Stone could unleash. And the Reality Stone is implied to be capable of destroying the entire universe. Although this statement is shaky at best, as that wasn't Malekith's plan during Thor the Dark World, and to accomplish his feat of shrouding the universe in darkness, which wasn't even the universe, he needed thousands of years of prep time, so take that one with an extreme grain of salt, alright? What I'm trying to say here is that the blast that he fired at Thor has got to be at least planetary. However, unfortunately for Thor, he doesn't scale to the blast, as it's stated multiple times by the screenwriters Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus, as well as the directors Joe and Anthony Russo, that Stormbreaker was created with magical effects that could counteract the gauntlet. Sorry, Thor fans. But who cares about planet busting when you can turn the entire universe into atoms and then reform an entirely new universe, which is Thanos' new plan in Endgame. There are detractors for Universal Thanos, as he didn't perform this feat on screen, but you know, this argument doesn't really make that much sense to me, as this is stated to be his plan, and if he did succeed with obtaining the gauntlet yet again, I don't know why he wouldn't be able to follow through, or why the writers wouldn't have allowed Thanos to keep his word. After all, he knows the stones more than anyone in existence, and followed through with his stated plan in Infinity War, so I personally believe that this atomizing the entire universe statement is valid. So that is it. That is the incredible power of Marvel Cinematic Universe Thanos. I hope you guys learned something today. If not, then I hope at least this video was entertaining for you. If you'd like to support the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. It does really help us out. And if you'd like to support us directly, consider becoming a member. You can also follow me on Twitter at Garrick_KI. And with that being said, remember the motto, it's Thanos over everything, and I'll see you guys next time.